Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a huge economic shift, something that's really starting to reshape global markets. It's being called the feminization of wealth.
It's a simple term, but it describes something incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
The growing control and, influence that women have over financial capital.
Right.
And our sources detail these massive megatrends that are making this whole shift pretty much inevitable. So our mission today is to explore not just how it's happening, but what it all means.
What are the real-world implications? Yeah, for markets, for companies, even for individual behavior.
Yeah.
And this isn't some slow-moving trend anymore. It seems to be accelerating. So let's unpack the core drivers behind it.
Okay, so the first big one, the foundational piece, is what they call the Great Wealth Transfer.
Hmm.
It boils down to this. Women, on average, live longer than men. So as the baby boomer generation ages, you see women inheriting significant wealth, not just from their husbands, but from their parents, too.
But it's not just about inheritance, right? That feels like only part of the picture.
Not at all. That's just one piece. The other is a huge increase in earning power. I mean, women are now the majority of college and graduates.
Which positions them for higher paying jobs from the start.
Exactly. And on top of that, they're starting businesses at a really high rate, which, just boosts that wealth building capacity even more.
So beyond that structural transfer of wealth,
Mm.
the sources also point to something more intentional,
Yeah.
a shift in autonomy.
Yes. You see more women marrying later in life or not at all. And what that does is it gives them greater uninterrupted control over their own assets for longer.
And we're seeing that play out. Things like the rise in single women buying their own homes or
Yeah.
actively managing their own investment portfolios.
Yeah.
But is this story all positive? I mean, are there any kind of conflicting narratives reported alongside this economic data?
That's a key question. And while the main analysis is economics, some of the sources do bring up a broader sociological narrative.
Yeah.
They discuss shifting societal priorities. Now, we have to be impartial here and just report that this discussion is present in the material. But the key takeaway is that the core drivers, the things everyone agrees on, are these undeniable economic facts: more education and more financial independence.
Absolutely. So let's get to this so what. What does this all mean for the financial world? How are these institutions adapting?
Well, the market is definitely responding. What's fascinating is seeing the wealth management industry. It's having to pivot fast.
From what to what?
They're moving away from those old transactional risk-heavy models and shifting toward a more holistic, goal-based approach, one that really emphasizes long-term stability.
And confidence seems to be a huge factor here. The sources say this financial stability gives women genuine control over their lives.
It really does. It gives them the confidence to make major life decisions, leaving a bad job or a bad marriage, to build a life entirely on their own terms. That's real financial agency.
Right, the ability to buy the darn latte or go to the Beyoncé concert or take that trip without that old-fashioned guilt-driven shame.
Exactly. And that agency, it scales up. It translates into significant influence over where capital goes. We're seeing a much greater focus on ESG investing.
Environmental, social, and governance.
Yep. Because women are increasingly aligning their money with their values, like fighting climate change or supporting other women and girls. We're talking about trillions in capital flow being redirected.
And that influence extends to politics, too. The sources mention women donating to candidates who support legislation that directly helps their families.
That's right. Things like paid family leave or a stronger social safety net. Their economic power is being felt directly in policymaking.
So, to pull this all together, the core message from our sources seems to be that with control over trillions of dollars, women are now an incredibly powerful economic force. And this force is reshaping everything from corporate governance to consumer markets.
And as one source put it pretty optimistically, nothing bad happens when women have more money.
Which leaves an important question for you, the listener, to think about. Given that this economic shift is now driven as much by these ongoing social trends like education and delayed marriage as by big events like inheritance, what long-term changes might we expect to see? I mean, in the fundamental structure of retirement planning or even corporate governance over the next decade. This isn't just a momentary transfer. It really feels like a permanent realignment of financial power.